for him. Yeah. But I don't know what F is. Steve, or I mean, this probably goes to the same.
Right for the assistant.
Is Sandra here?
Yes, I will go ahead and start, sir.
Hey, today's Tuesday, May 14th, May 24th, 2016. This is a regular meeting of the Los Angeles Board of Police Commissioners. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Good morning. Let the record reflect Commissioners Soboroff, Figueroa Villa, Saltzman, and Kim are present, and we have a quorum. Number 1 on the agenda, consent agenda items. We do have comment cards for A, B, and C.
I move approval of items D, E, F, and G.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. The comment card for 1A, Wayne Spindler and Herman. Mr. Herman? Is Mr. Spindler here? No? Okay. Herman? This is regarding the destruction of obsolete original records for Office of Operation.
Good morning. As you all know, that this new uniform is simply a venture into new business of the City Hall and LAPD. But thanks to you, Mr. Mike Fuhr, there's a new crime buster in town known as, and as you know, hoodies or hoods should not be represented as a First Amendment defilement just because Herb Wesson Jr. decides to not use his name as perjury as Herman.
Mr. Herman, you're not speaking to the item before you, which is the donation item.
Can we go into this donation process, sir? Yes, yes. Donations are very important for the city of Los Angeles, more so for those of you who are basically homeless. We put more funding into our donation process versus not helping the homeless.
This is a Mr. Herman, this is related to destruction of obsolete records. You have to speak to the item.
Thank you, sir, for correcting me.
That's your first warning.
I waive my time. Thank you, Mr. Soboroff, for disrupting me on my 1 minute of comment.
Okay, Mr. Spindler's not present. We will move to item number. Is there a motion?
Approval of item 1A.
We have a second? We have a second?
Second.
All in favor? 1B?
1B, we have Wayne Spindler. He's not present.
Okay, we have a motion for.
Move
Was that
approval
the
of
only
item.
one?
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
1C, Wayne Spindler, not present.
I move approval of item 1C.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. We're now on item number 2, commission comments.
Any comments?
Nope.
Last Wednesday when I woke up, I looked back at my actions and one specific comment, and I wouldn't have done that again. Next. And I apologize for it. What? Next.
Okay, we do have 10 comment cards. We have the Red Chief Hunt, followed by Prentice Jenkins and Wayne Spindler.
The Red Chief Hunt, for the record. Here's what I want to talk about today. I want to talk about the commissioners who are not taking action on this girl dying. I put in my request last week what I wanted to have done, and the commissioners haven't followed up or put nothing in the paper. I requested that all of those officers be fired, and 2 to 4 weeks that they be charged with 187 if nobody come forth. You guys need to go to the media, get behind me, because all these people right here, if you agree with me, clap your hands. We are the new commissioners now. This is taken by a vote, what we want to happen. The newspaper, LA Times, you need to write this down. The people want everybody on that shift fired in 2 to 4 weeks. If nothing has happened, then they all be charged with 187. The same thing you guys would do with gang enhancement, gang violence, or whatever. You guys got a gang. LAPD is a gang. Determine that no other way, because when somebody come up dead at hands of another, and you have to look at something else while I'm speaking, T-Fink, it's not appropriate. You should be listening to the public comment. That's what you get paid for, or whatever you up here for. And this is why I'm saying most of you guys need to resign. I want to bring in Diane Watson and Supervisor Burke as commissioners so we can have a fair and equal panel. We have no black people up here. We know that that's all racism. No black people up here. To the comments, you guys are not doing your job. And just like I said, I'm going to keep on you guys' ass, and here's what I want to have done. I am the Red Chief Hunt. Chief Beck don't mean a goddamn thing to me. He doesn't serve and protect, else them guys would be in jail or fired. Thank you to Red Chief Hunt. Clap you guys' hands. Yeah.
Prentice Jenkins.
Morning, sir.
Morning, sir. Vice President Soboroff, thank you for giving us that statement about the comment you wouldn't make. There are a lot of things that I wrote down that I was going to come in here many times and rip you guys a new one and realize, I'm not going to say that. So every now and then we think about what we say, but the First Amendment tells us we have the right to say it. It doesn't say it doesn't say what we can say. It says we have the right to say it. This is Ralph M. Brown Act, and it talks about Ralph M. Brown. He from Modesto, he's acting in part on his own experience with secret local government officials. And it talks about a reporter named Harris. It says, the word Michael Harris, 1952, he wrote a 10-page series on secret practices by supervisors and counsel. This is what Ralph M. Brown looks like. We all talk about him, but that's what he actually looked like. He died 47 years ago. This is a man that put the Ralph M. Brown Act together. And it says he did this because he says, frankly, he says he believed there was, the councils believed there was no reason why cities should continue to take the brunt of constant press criticism over alleged secret meetings, right? And he also says, one person demanded, he says he started this because Harris said he said he was working one night at a desk at the Chronicle in 1951 when one after another, 3 unconnected readers called to complain that they were kicked out of 3 different public meetings. Does that sound familiar? This is 1951, they were kicking people out of meetings, right? In 1951, right? And it says Ralph M. Brown, according to Ralph M. Brown's daughter, that he did this because they kicked him out of meetings, and he heard about secret meetings that they were having. That's why he put this legislation together.
Mr. Herman, followed by Ted Hayes and Oscar.
Ladies and gentlemen, Batman's personal views about mere speech does not constitute an actual disruption simply because the U.S. Ninth Circuit ruling of 2010, government officials must tolerate offensive or irritating speech. No, it does not mean constructive speech, gentlemen, madam ladies. So the process of Mr. Spindler's smeared name simply because you dislike his public comments rudely suggests that you have become the haters of the so-called reference of law and criminalizing justice for all. It is those oppressive harms you bring upon the public, gentlemen and ladies. You cannot sacrifice political speech. Batman knows what the law is, but Batman can't interfere with this so-called justice by our Inspector General and the DA's office. Was Maine Spindler smeared? Was his name brought up simply so he could have attacks, perjury by Herb Wesson to send people to his home and make offensive phone calls because of his protective public speech? How dare you? Where's the neutral, reasonable behind public comment and free speech? LA Times, Kate Manor, commissioned the LAPD could not mandate the speakers to be courteous, let alone polite and respectful for public integrity. Let me clarify the caution, ma'am. Let me clarify the caution, Mr. Sobra. No more bad development in Los Angeles. Give African Americans and the Browns their homes and take them off the street. The war on homeless.
Is that the buzzer?
Tud Hayes, followed by Oscar.
Morning, Mr. Hayes.
It's called leave them to their own devices. They will either fail or succeed based upon what they decide to do, and that's what the commission is confronting right now. Now, you will probably call it entrapment because we allowed you to do what you're doing before we went to court, went to the feds to try to get you to correct your behavior. Over and over and over again, people are saying you violate the Brown Act. Now, if you will take the time, the opportunity to look at the Brown Act, and you find at every instance where it says the body, that means you must take a vote. To clear the room, you have to take a vote. Well, no, Johnson simply said, get out of here, and they let people out. Now, also, if the Brown Act says groups of people who are disrupting can be put out, how can you have people who are simply being disruptive put out without clearing a room? Because unfortunately, the Brown Act points out the disruption means the entire room has to be cleared. Fortunately, it points out those who have not been disruptive can be admitted in. Well, you've not done that. You've done something completely contrary. Why? I don't know. You tell the feds, you tell the prosecutors why you failed to carry out the Brown Act. I think you believe because you have authority, you also have power. Well, not really, because you find that most instances your power isn't contested till we take you before a tribunal. That's when you find out whether you actually was invested in the powers that you were exerting. You can't clear the room by throwing people out. You have to clear the room by putting everyone out.
Oscar, followed by Davon Williams and Kim McGill.
Morning.
Good morning. On May 10th, the Force Investigation Division gave a report on use of force investigations, which include deaths in custody, like the death of Waukesha Wilson on March 27th. The gentleman giving the report said that the department has tremendous amounts of resources for categorical use of force investigations, which would also include the case of Waukesha Wilson. They said the department has to present a report within 72 hours to the chief of police, and it has to be reviewed within 30 days. So how is it that Charlie Beck can convince you all that they have to hold on to the video of a supposed suicide for over 58 days and not answer any of her family's questions? Actually, Charlie Beck said that if he met with Waukesha Wilson's mother, she could not have a lawyer present. What kind of police officer will only meet with community members without a lawyer present? You're supposed to be the LAPD's oversight, and you can stand up to Charlie Beck, and you have that power. Yet we have to come into this room every week full of armed police officers, be disrespected, and apparently risk jail time because you won't do anything about it. Thanks.
Next speaker.
Davon Williams.
Hello, I'm here to ask that you support SB 1286, which is access to police records. We deserved the records to hold you accountable of your killings, your physical abuse, and things like that. We would also want to know who, as far you were, I guess, interacting with, what age, race, and things, so we can build that case of the history of that officer, which is already true, we know, but we need it on record. Second, we would like you to support the Police Interrogation Act, SB 1252, which does not allow youth to waive their Miranda rights. Many officers will try to manipulate young people or people in general, saying, you can do this, you can do that, it's okay, your homeboy already told me, extension, which is not true. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Kim McGill, followed by Eddie H. and Hamid Khan.
Good morning. Kim McGill from the Youth Justice Coalition. We gave you all packets in terms of what we're demanding for young people and for youth protection in the city of Los Angeles. First of all, the first packet details the budget considerations. If we just took 5% of LAPD's budget and 5% of the city attorney's budget, that would give us enough for 30 youth centers open from 3 p.m. to midnight, 365 days a year, plus 15,000 youth jobs, plus 350 intervention workers, peace builders in our streets and schools, people that really help young people to stay out of trouble as well as prevent police use of force resulting in homicide. In addition, as you know, LA City and particularly LAPD leads the nation in use of force resulting in homicide. So we're asking, as Devon said, for you to support 3 bills. He outlined 2 of them. I'll outline the third was Assembly Bill 2298, which will give everyone the right to know if they're placed on any shared gang database, the right to appeal it, and if the appeal is denied, the right to go to a higher authority. Also requires the Department of Justice to release data every year on who's added and taken off of gang databases. Finally, we just attended a trial for the past several days for a young man from Youth Justice Coalition who was killed. That's the 59th person that we've buried. These policies that are being ignored, the fact that the LAPD budget is 70 times higher than what LA City spends on young people, the fact that our city is the only major city without a youth development department, and the fact that the small crumbs that do come to youth development, more of those go to the LAPD and LA County Sheriffs than even to the community-based youth programs. That's what killed Chris Carter, those kind of policies. It's not the young people that are blamed in the courts, it's these policies that are causing us and others to bury these young people. We want real back and forth on these issues. We don't want to just be listened to every week in a public comment section. If you can't act as a commission and have some backbone as a commission, that at least individual commissioners please reach out and meet with the young people.
Thank you.
Eddie H.
Eddie H. of the Los Angeles Community Action Network. It was once said by Dr. Martin Luther King that somewhere I read of the freedom of speech, somewhere I read of the freedom of assembly, somewhere I read of the freedom of the press, somewhere I read that the greatness of America is the right to protest for right. So we come here every week in that spirit, should be allowed to protest in the manner that we want to without worrying about being arrested, being accosted, and physically our bodies being manhandled. We say today, without equivocation, that our efforts will continue. And Mr. Soboroff, you are apologizing for what you said to one of my colleagues. You didn't say his name. You didn't apologize to him personally. It was an apology that was thrown into the air. But when you said what you said, shut up to another grown man, it was the ultimate of disrespect. But that is what happened at this particular commission meeting on a weekly basis by you, the commissioners, and by you, Chief Beck, by sitting there silently and not addressing the many issues that we bring before you every week. And I say unapologetically that we will continue to show up week after week, month after month, year after year, for our resolve has been heightened, and we will be vigilant. We will be never wavering in our efforts to abolish this system of white supremacy. We're talking about raising up a system that includes all. For Martin Luther King also said that an individual has not started living until he can rise above the narrow confines of his own individualistic concerns to the broader concerns of all humanity. And we here today are saying that we are rising up to the concerns of all humanity, and not just those who sit on the mountaintop, but also those who are in the valley. And I say to you today that we're here to stay.
Hamid Khan, please.
I would respectfully ask that you not yell from the audience. Mr. Khan, before you start, I hear his point, and I do want to say that I was talking about, after your speaking time was over, I did in fact say the word "shut up, Khan," and I do apologize to you for that. But I made the comment generally. Also, Mr. Herman, I consider what you're doing now disruptive, so I'm going to give you your first warning about raising your hands and waving in front of the cameras. So that's your first warning.
Hi, Hamid Khan with the Stop LAPD Spying Coalition. So thank you for the apology, but we'll see, because apology has to be followed with action, and real action, because otherwise it just becomes hollow and it just becomes another checking the box. How many students in the room today? Thank you. Because what happened last week was that we were calling out the white supremacy, and we were calling out the violence of this body. We were calling out this body known as the Police Commission, which basically has become a shock absorber for a system that is fundamentally flawed by design. Think about it. Shock absorber for a system that is fundamentally flawed by design. Now, why is it flawed by design? In 2015, LAPD led the country in killing the most people anywhere. 21 people were murdered by LAPD. This year, LAPD again leads the nation in 2016 by killing 8 people already. Okay? LAPD, for the last 6 years, and we can only back to 2011, there's a report that they publish. It's called biased reporting, meaning when there are complaints against racial profiling, they investigate. Guess how many have they found valid? 0. 0. In 6 years, they are calling us a community of liars. And when you look at the percentages, in 2014, it was 66% black folks who had filed these complaints. In 2015, it was 59% black folks who had filed these complaints. Okay? And now you're looking at 2016. For the first quarter, it's already 53% of the complainants are black folks. So in a community, in a city which has 9% black population, you can see the 6-to-1 disparate impact. So again, it's an insult to the black community that they are considered a community of liars. That is what is going on. That is what I called out. I called out that racism. I spoke directly to Kathleen Kim, and this is what I said, that people in our communities, Asian people, brown people, suffer from a disease.
Next speaker, please.
There are no other comment cards. There are no other comment cards on this item. We are now on item number 3, the report of the Chief of Police, Chief Beck.
Morning, Chief.
Good morning. A couple of things I wanted to report on before I get into my normal statistical analysis. First, as you are well aware, we helped the delivery of ET-94, the space shuttle fuel tank, to the California Science Center. Was done immediately on time and with minimal disruption. But a reason I bring it up is because I want to remind the public that Steve Soboroff is one of the primary reasons that we had to find a fuel tank for a space shuttle that we own. And I wanted to tell the commissioner that the fuel tank was much easier to move than the space shuttle, being even though it's a little longer, it is nowhere near the width. And so I was these are a couple of miracles that have happened in the city of Los Angeles, and the California Science Center will
Chief,
be much better for it.
Just a report on that 8.5 million people have visited at no cost.
Yeah.
Have visited school children from around the state, have visited the Endeavor, which makes it, other than the Smithsonian's, one of the top 2 or 3 museums in America. And we believe because there is no charge, and because it is the reason that NASA did make that award to us. And I want to appreciate everything that the department did. But these are historic structures, and they can't be messed with. So at least this one's smaller.
Well, and I have to say that the attendance will only increase because once it is mounted on the fuel tank and placed in the launch position, it's going to be a magnificent exhibit. So
and learning experience for kids.
So really good thing, very, very positive. And then another very positive thing I wanted to talk about. I attended our cadet graduation. Cadets is our youth program for young people between the ages of 14 and 21 at the Galen Center this Saturday. Almost 500 cadets graduated. This brings the total of our cadet program up to 7,861. And what I wanted to highlight there, of course, it is a group of kids from Los Angeles. It's almost 90% Hispanic now, almost 50% female. A really, really excellent representation of the department's outreach. And one of the reasons I wanted to talk about it today, because we have these graduations quarterly, and I don't always comment on them, but this one was Chief Pasinger's last cadet graduation as a full-time employee of the Los Angeles Police Department because of his looming retirement date. When Chief Pasinger took my challenge to reform the then Explorer program and change it into the LAPD cadet program, we had under 500 young people in the program, and that was barely, just at 7 years right now. And he transformed that program not only in curriculum, but in purpose, and then in magnitude. And it's a hugely important piece of the future of Los Angeles, because, as you well know, excuse me, I'm talking.
Sir, that's your second warning. So that's your final warning for disruption. The next time I'll ask you to leave.
So it's hugely important to the future of Los Angeles because many of these young people will not be Los Angeles police officers for a variety of reasons. Some of them don't even aspire to be Los Angeles police officers, but they will all be better people and more effective in their lives because of the contact with the department. So it's a really, really positive thing. One of the best things that we do. You're going to hear a report on one of the other really good community programs we have today when you review your commendations. But I wanted to highlight the cadet program, and Chief Pasinger's in the back, and I wanted to thank him publicly and personally. So, as you are all aware, for the last a couple of years, the Los Angeles Police Department, and in fact the entire state of California and much of the nation, has struggled with crime, particularly violent crime. We took some extreme steps to address the four most violent divisions earlier in the year, and those steps are starting to have some effect, although it's not over till it's over, obviously, and we still have this summer to come to grips with. But as you are aware, I have reported in the past our homicide rate had increased by as much as 23% in the earlier months of the year. Well, because of the efforts of the men and women of the Los Angeles Police Department and our community outreach and the efforts of the people of Los Angeles, we have got our homicide rate down to almost even with last year. We're at 101 homicides year to date as compared to 97 last year. So that's a 4.1% increase and puts us firmly on track to have under 300 homicides this year, which will be the 6th year in a row. And before these 6 years, the city hadn't experienced at that level of homicide rate until the mid-60s, since the mid-60s. Really important piece, and it is a starting of a turn of the tide. So that's very important. We also went to a 0% reduction in numbers of victims shot. There's an article in the Times today about the tragedies that Chicago is suffering. And there was a further article in the New York Times on Monday about the number of victims shot in the country and how many of them are young folks of color. So this is particularly important in Los Angeles. So to give us some context, Times reports Chicago has had almost 1,400 people shot so far this year. They're a city of 1 million less folks than we are, considerably smaller geography. So far this year, we're at 427. It's 427 too many, but it's a significant reduction from where we were just several months ago. So I wanted to recognize the efforts of the men and women of the Los Angeles Police Department in that context. Also, one of the things that we talk about all the time is officer-involved shootings. And so far this year, we've had a 33% reduction in officer-involved shootings as compared to last year, and a 7.2% reduction as compared to our 5-year average. More important to look at 5-year average than year to year, as year to year can suffer huge variety because of the relatively small number of shootings compared to other kinds of crime and contacts with citizens. So traffic collisions, we're at a 7.3% increase year to date in traffic collisions. This is partially reflected because of the increased mileage and reduced fuel costs in the city. That's 20,000 traffic collisions reportable to the LAPD so far this year. Driving under the influence related traffic collisions are down in total about 5%. Hit and runs are up just under 5%. Motor vehicle versus pedestrians are down 1.4%. And bicycle involved traffic collisions are down 20%, which is pretty remarkable given the increase in bicycle riders in the city. Personnel on payroll, we have 9,900 sworn personnel on payroll with 33 recruits in the academy who aren't being paid yet, so 9,933. Although I will comment that we have 120 or so retirements pending in the next month. I anticipate that by July I'll be reporting to you that we'll be at 9,800. So we're looking at a significant retirement peak. Civilian personnel, 2,714. We have just under 400 reserves, 283 specialist volunteers, 60 chaplains, and as I commented earlier, 7,861 cadets. Also of note, although we have not released the name of the officer at this point, our officer that was shot a week ago Friday is recovering well at home. And that concludes my report.
Good. Commissioners, any questions, comments to the chief? Chief, the expo line to Santa Monica is open, so I think we have to urge everybody to look both ways at places they didn't look both ways just a few weeks ago, and sure enough, wear their seatbelts. Thank you, sir.
Okay, we do have 10 comment cards on this item. The first 5 cards, the Red Chief Hunt, Mr. Herman, Prentice Jenkins, Ted Hayes, and Hamid Khan.
Go ahead, sir.
You can turn the mic up. It's free speech. Okay. Why do we say fuck the police? And let me tell you why we say fuck the police. Number one, when you guys are doing crime. Number two, you guys have not established any concern to the public about the statistics, the real statistics, like he said in the report, 0. Well, I received 2 lawsuits. Number one, I'm the one that started that bullshit with the KKK mask and all that bullshit, and you guys ended up paying me $215,000 because you guys arrested me for bullshit. free speech. You guys done that on January 15th. You guys done that out there in the lobby. So I'm part of the statistics. You guys arrested me for selling soap, for keeping niggas or washing niggas' ass. Don't make any fucking sense. This is why we say fuck the police. And the bottom line is when that lady came up dead, that's the final straw. The attorneys, the city attorney needs to go give that mother $3.5 million without attorney's fees and get that shit done. And just like I'm requesting, they be charged with gang enhancement to all the people that was working that shift, get it done. I am the Red Chief Hunt. All you motherfuckers that sit up there full of shit, investigate this, investigate that. Fire they motherfucking ass in 2 to 4 weeks. If they haven't told, then they all get arrested for 187, just like you would do the public. And those are the correct statistics. Fuck you guys, and if you guys don't say shit, I'm still saying fuck you guys. That's why I say fuck the police.
Thank you.
Mr. Herman?
Thank you for your comments. Mr. Herman?
Batman won't go NWA on you, but you all know what you're doing. Impeding on the rights of free speech. You're challenging African Americans and the Browns to have a fight. For what purpose, Herb Wesson Jr.? Your real name is Herbie. It's Herman. Let's get it right on the affidavit. Let's get it right with the DA, Herb Wesson. Your real name on the record is Herman Wesson Jr. So when Batman and all his friends, his constituents, Dollars Do, Wayne Spindler, John Walsh, for the record, attend these meetings, why are they attacked? Is it simply because Robin Hood offends you? Robin Hood offends you. But the true problem of free speech is not that it's offensive. The public has a right to use intensifiers. Such grammatical, offensive intensifiers to highlight the idea of what love is in our community. We're all the same. We bleed the same. We dress crazy in LA. We wear bulletproof vests to protect us against you, all of you. And that's why we attend these meetings, not to hear the rhetoric of Chief Charlie Beck. He knows that we are not protected in our communities. He knows that school districts don't provide our children a better education, so we don't have to stand there and use offensive language. NWA, NWA. That's right, Steve. I'm offensive. But Batman has his point of view for you all.
Mr. Herman, you need to stay on topic.
That's to get you to hear that Wayne Spindler was arrested under false accusations, allegations that he was a threat on a public comment card.
Prentice Jenkins, followed by Tud Hayes and Hamid Khan.
Prentice Jenkins, published a City Life newsletter, activist since 1991. That is Wayne Spindler. I've been to meetings with Wayne Spindler. I know Wayne Spindler is not a racist. But based on what Wayne Spindler said, as a black man, if I was in Herb Wesson's shoes, and see, I know Wayne Spindler, but if I was in Herb Wesson's shoes, I think the same thing. Man said, somebody put Prentice equals nigga. It's a white man trying to lynch me. So I understand. I didn't put myself in Herb Wesson's shoes. All I did was think about Spindler, Wayne Spindler, saying he has the right to say it. Freedom of speech says he has the right to say it. It does not mean that you should say it. It's just that you have the right to say it. So the burning cross on this card is the city of Los Angeles burning because of corruption. The hood on this card is the taxpayer being hoodwinked by the Klan. The man hanging from the tree is not Herb Wesson. It's Wayne Spindler. He's saying they're trying to hang me because I'm sitting around trying to talk to them about corruption. And Herb equals nigga, right, is him saying that's Herb, that's the white folks that Herb's working for in the background calling him a nigga. So Wayne Spindler is not a racist. Wayne Spindler is just a dumbass, right, who made some statements about a powerful man. And don't get me wrong, now I do see how Wesson could have taken that out of context. He don't know Wayne Spindler. So he just assumed Wayne Spindler is a freaking racist. And if I was in his shoes, I think, if I was in Herb Weston's shoes, I would think he was too. But trust me, Wayne Spender's not a racist. I'm a black man. I would not hang out with a racist. That'd be ridiculous, right? All right, so I'm saying that Wayne's got to get himself out of this.
Next
Ted
speaker.
Hayes.
Mr. Hayes?
A bit off the subject, Judge Lance Ito in the Ojo trial told a lawyer, "Shut up." And he was almost disbarred for that. They really brought it down. I commend you, Mr. Soboroff. I think it's not only manly for you to apologize, but also wise to do that. Now on the subject. Suicide spotlights quandary of handling junkies in jail. Los Angeles Times, July 26, 1996. Alba said coroner's officials concerned and conducted their own experiment. The coroner tried it out, with the same size cord, and indeed it was effective, end of quote. Alba said he also noted that the LAPD had years ago shortened the telephone cords in the hope of preventing suicides. The same experiment, and really effective, LAPD, the cords kill? We'll find out later on. But as one person said last week, we thought you had shortened all those telephone cords so that suicides could not take place by hanging. And that's what the LA Times is pointing out. Now, when we're thrown to the wolves, that means when we're kicked out of here, put into the lobby, and we're arrested for an unlawful assembly. We're thrown to the wolves, and I just went outside in the hallway. They told me, go back inside. Johnson says, get out. The cops in the hallway say, go back inside. I was arrested because I didn't go back inside. That's called a catch-22 supreme.
Ahmed Khan. And then the next 5 speakers are Eddie H., Mariela Saba, Dave Vaughn, Kim McGill, and Paula Miner.
Ahmed Khan, I'm going to speak in my capacity as a member of the Board of Directors of Youth Justice Coalition, as a community ally, and a group that inspires me. I'm honored to be a part of and who guides me in my work. They have presented a budget that was created by young people. They have presented a budget that outlines how young people's lives can be enhanced in this city, which goes directly to what the chief has been pushing against it. I'm going to read something, a newspaper article from the Daily Breeze, and it says, applications for Los Angeles police officers surged last month as one of the few recession-proof careers. It goes on to say the downturn in the economy has offered an upside for the LAPD. This article is from January 3, 2009, at the height of the recession. For people who may not remember or may be too young for the time, this is when in 2008, you will read in your history books, is known as the time of the Great Recession. Millions of people lost their homes, millions of people lost their lives, millions of people lost their livelihood. But LAPD remained recession-proof, and the downside in the economy was an upside for LAPD, which remains the same, There has been no upside in the life of the youth. There has been no upside. Youth centers have been shut down, libraries have been shut down, anything, cut back in schooling, and I see a lot of nodding heads because you all are the recipient of this kind of violence every day that happens. Economic violence, cultural violence. But what the chief didn't say was that LAPD receives 54% of the general funds in this city, a recession-proof, and we're not even talking about federal grants, we're not talking about other grants, we're not talking about hundreds of millions of dollars that the LAPD gets. No wonder that the youth, when LAPD gets 54% of the general funds, the investment of the city in youth is less than 1%, less than actually 0.5%. No wonder it's 70 to 1. So what we have to do is to force them to shift this thing. What we have to do is to divert money into youth centers. What we have
next
to do
speaker,
is
please.
divert money into education and youth.
Eddie H.
Thank you.
Eddie H.
Eddie H., Los Angeles Community Action Network. This police department has been held up as a model, as a template for other police departments throughout this country. And having said that, we can see why the brutalization of people that look like me is so prevalent throughout this country. Last week, I was asked to leave this assembly when I stood up for my colleague, Mr. Khan. And Steve Soboroff told him to shut up. I was in total compliance, but Officer Barragan felt as though I wasn't moving fast enough, I guess. So he went from 0 to 100 in less than a second, and literally, physically putting his hands on me. Now, had I done the same thing, I would have been arrested for assault on a police officer and who knows how many other charges. I'm saying today, again, that our bodies are not yours to do what you want to do with them. Our bodies do not belong to you to criminalize them, to physically abuse them, to discriminate against them, and to murder them.
Will you sit
Our
down,
bodies
sir?
do
Second,
not
that's
belong-
your, excuse me, I'll give you your time back. Herman, this is your, I think, is second warning? Because I forgot. Second warning? Let's call it the second. So this is the final warning. If you do it again, I'm going to ask you to leave. Understand?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, can I have my time in peace? Thank you. You didn't put the seconds back on the
Sure. Yeah, we'll give you the time back.
So our bodies are not yours to do whatever you deem necessary. There needs to be a protocol when one is asked to leave this assembly as to what the time frame would be before we are accosted. Mr. Barragan, as I began to say before I was so rudely interrupted, felt it necessary to accost me with his hand on his gun, no less. I was literally pushed out of this room. And I'm saying to you today, Chief, you need to bring your officers in, and you need to have some semblance of protocol when we come to here expressing our First Amendment rights. For it is not on our behalf that we must police you guys, but it is for us to feel safe in this place that is inundated with police officers.
Thank you, sir.
And again, in closing, I'm going to use my 10 seconds that you didn't give back to me. And in closing, I just want to say that we, as a people, Martin Luther King said, we will get to the promised land. And that promised land is the abolishment of the white imperialistic ideology, which is the foundation, which is the genesis, which is the roots of white supremacy. No more. No more. No more.
Mariela Saba.
Morning.
Good morning, everybody. Good to see a lot of youth present. I came knowing that you all were going to be present. I came to speak on behalf of youth from my heart. And when we do that, we speak on behalf of a future, because some of us are thinking about 7 generations ahead and more. Unlike a whole department that you're thinking of future is death, is locking up, is a plan for 5 more jails in Los Angeles. So that's why we have to speak. And earlier, I made sure I disrupted when you were giving the graduation statistics on the cadets program, calling most of them Hispanic, your panic, calling most of them women, and that pains me. So I had to say, no. My no, I really mean it, and I could be much louder and much stronger, but I want to bring that no more into this space, that you know that it pains us that all the resources, the majority of the resources are in your hands. And to me, and I understand that as in the hands of genocide, every time police officers stop youth in the street, whether they're 8 years old, 10, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, baby children, youth in the streets that look like you, some of the brown, black brothers in the cop trapped uniforms, you are stopping our future. Every time you lock up youth, you are locking up our future. Every time you kill youth, you are killing, you are murdering our future. So we stand up, and we stand up with Youth Justice Coalition, with Youth Build, and all youth organizers and all youth that are rising. We have your back. We are youth ourselves, and we speak in that spirit because we care about the future. So no to your cadet program, no to your Explorer program, and it doesn't matter that you say that some of them don't become police officers. They are becoming militarized. They are becoming brainwashed. They are being trained to be police
Next
with
speaker,
or
please.
without
Who's
uniform.
next?
So no.
Who?
Davon.
All right, so I heard earlier a little investment of youth jobs, but we'd like you to take it a step further and support the LA for Youth campaign, in which 5% of the City of Los Angeles budget would have 50,000 youth jobs, 1,000 peace builders and intervention workers, and 100 youth centers. We want to invest in the youth, not in oppression and students getting kicked out of school, harassed by police, and other things like that. As she said earlier, these are our future. If when I was younger, had access to more of these things like that, I probably would have not gone to the county jail. But I'm here back to make sure people a little younger than me do not end up in a situation and path that I went through. Thank you.
Kim McGill.
Kim McGill again from the Youth Justice Coalition. I want everyone to stand who believes that young people need youth centers, who believes that young people need jobs, who believes that young people need intervention workers. Chief Beck gave a lot of credit to the LAPD for the drops in homicide. I also want to credit all the intervention workers who never get credit in this body, but when I see LAPD in the community, there face to face with them, they admit that it's the intervention workers who have brought down the homicide rates, yet they are not included except for a very tiny portion of the city budget. I wanted to highlight the report that you have and urge you to ask us questions, because this, as I understand, all these folks now are on the agenda, and you could actually have a dialogue with everyone who's standing in the audience instead of treating this as another section of the public comments. I want to urge you to look at the part of the agenda that talks about even minimal police contact, even when young people only spend a few days in custody with the exact same demographics, living in the exact same communities, and with the exact same charges. Young people who are a few days in custody are 39% more likely not to finish high school and 67% more likely to go to prison than their peers who spend no time in custody. I want to urge you to look at the part of the report that talks about use of force homicides in LA County. In the early 2000s, when we had twice as many homicides as we do now, police homicides were actually lower than they are today. And use of force homicides at that time accounted for 2 to 3% of overall homicides. Now when our homicide rate, the community's done its job, our homicide rate has dropped by half. Law enforcement homicides are up in real numbers and in percentages. And now in LA City and in LA County as a whole make up 6 to 8% of the overall homicides in LA County. I want you to pay attention to the report that talks specifically about us in comparison to other cities. San Francisco, where they spend $893 on every young person. In New York City, where they spend $313 on every young person. In Boston, where they spend $194 on every young person. Where young people have access to youth jobs, youth centers, and intervention workers, the drops in homicides have been even greater. And in LA, we spend $45 on every young person. And all of that goes to grid, and including a huge portion of money going to LAPD directly.
The final speaker on this item, Paula Miner.
Please talk to us. I mean, we're on the agenda now. So with real data coming at you, I would think you could ask people.
You can speak again during public comment, but you can take your seat. You can take your seat now. Next.
Yes, I'm Paula Miner, Black Lives Matter. And Mrs. Hines, who's the mother of Waukesha Wilson, we're standing together again before this commission. First of all, I would like to commend one of our partners, Youth Justice Coalition, and thank them for their advocacy and thank them for their training, for their support of the youth of our community. And I know this is maybe not quite on the topic. I do have some comments on Chief Beck's report, but it was interesting to me as she asked who can stand up and say they are in support of youth services. And none of the public servants, the police, the people in this room could stand. And that lets us know why so few dollars are spent on our youth services, why so many of our youth are caught up in a system of crime, a system of low education, a system that attempts to destroy the lives of many, many, many low-income and minority people. In response to Chief Beck, Mrs. Hines and I stand up because you report things as statistics. You report whatever needs to be boiled down to a statistic so that our commission can continue to pretend there are not human beings behind each of these statistics, each of these numbers. Mrs. Hines is here because her daughter is one of those statistics that you hide in on those numbers. You never recognize that one death, even if you have reduced these deaths 33% or 12% or whatever you said, one death harms many, many people, and there's suffering that continues on and on. And the fact that you cannot give information to the family, to the loved ones, makes that harm even greater. So again, we are here today. We're requesting information. No one has talked to Mrs. Hines, and we will continue to come.
Next speaker, please.
I just wanted to make.
Thank you.
So we'll call this the first warning. I'm going to ask you to stop yelling.
I just wanted to make a comment that I respect and support the work of Youth Advocacy Coalition, but I consulted with a city attorney who informed me that we aren't permitted to have a dialogue with public speakers, even if it's not in the public comment
Correct.
Agenda item.
Thank you, Commissioner. Next.
Okay, we have no other comment cards on this item, sir.
Okay.
We're now on item number 4, consent agenda items. We have cards on A, B, C.
We're on regular items.
Regular items. Sorry.
Okay.
Regular agenda items. We do have cards on 4A, B, C, E, and F.
Do we have a motion for approval of item number 4D?
I move approval of item 4D.
We have a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Oh, and okay. All those in favor? Aye. Okay. Let's hear our comment card on item number 4A. Oh, let's hear the Inspector General's verbal update on item number 4A.
Yes, Commissioner, just very briefly, I want to let the Commission know that we've had some additional meetings and have gone through some of the language to bring some of the revisions that the Commission had asked for the use of force policy. We have given some additional language to the department. I expect we will also meet with the stakeholders, being the City Attorney's Office, the PPL, and the department again, hopefully sometime next week. I'd expect that we'd have a good starting point for the meet and confer process, which will be between the PPL and with the department. And that's all I have to report, but I think things are moving at a good clip.
Any questions of the IG? Okay, we do have comment cards on this one.
Yes, sir. We have 5 comment cards. We have Wayne Spindler. He's not present. We have Mr. Herman, Prentice Jenkins, the Red Chief, and Ted Hayes.
Just calling it right now.
This is on 4A, Inspector General's verbal update and discussion. Who's coming up here?
Mr. Herman.
Okay.
So, Mr. Inspector General, it is your duty and responsibility to be ambiguously cautious when it comes to the respect of your constituents throughout the city of Los Angeles, along with all our stakeholders here today. It is your obligation under the city charter to protect our rights of free speech. Now, Mr. Spindler is not here today because he fears his life as Herb Wesson or Herman.
Mr. President, the speaker is not speaking to the topic.
So, Mr. Herman, this is your first warning about speaking on the topic. So you can speak on the topic or you can sit down. You've got choice. Go ahead.
You said it was what number item, sir?
4A.
Thank you for correcting me. Now, Inspector General's verbal update and discussion relative to the status of recommendation of policy and training. Well, see, if we go by a dialogue, it doesn't sound as important, as heartwarming as all the public's interest and concern to these matters. It is the responsibility of the Inspector General to protect everyone's right under force of investigation policy. Now, you heard the protesters strictly say, we do not like or we dislike the way you brutally beat out of policy. So, caution of warning, Mr. Inspector General, is to do a thorough investigation in respect to public interest. Sergeant of Arms, thank you for being here. And to remind the public that we, your constituents, do respect neutral and reasonable grounds of First Amendment protected speech. Thank you, sir.
Next speaker.
Prentice Jenkins.
Prentice Jenkins, published the City Life newsletter, activist since 1991. Was this young lady a victim of use of force? Waukesha Wilson, her mother, Lisa Hines, is in the audience. Was she a victim of use of force? Yes. Thank you. Was she a victim of use of force? Yes. Was Waukesha Wilson a victim of use of force? Yes. And why? Yes. Was she murdered by LAPD? Yes. Was she murdered by LAPD? Yes. We could clear all this up if the chief releases that video from the jail. It could all be cleared up just like that. None of us would have any suspicions about the cops. Well, why is it that they won't release the videotape? Why is that? The question is, the only reason you don't release the videotape is because the videotape shows that something happened and it wasn't Waukesha Wilson's fault. Well, whether an inmate did it or whether the cops did it, we know cops beat people in jail. Baca's going to jail now for all these cops beating people in jail. They got 9 cops in jail. The jails are filling up with cops now. Can you believe that? They're filling up with cops. We want to know what happened to Waukesha Wilson. That's the question. Her mother's sitting right here in this audience. She's not at home. She's in this audience. She wants to know what happened to her daughter. And based on what we're getting from the police department, use of force, right? It seems like it's real suspicious that for us, we believe the cops had something to do with it until you show us they didn't. We're going to all believe that the cops had something to do with it until you show us that videotape.
The Red Chief Hunt.
This is the second and final warning, and then I will ask the people who are yelling to leave. That was the second and final warning.
The Red Chief Hunt, followed by Ted Hayes.
I want to talk about the use of force in the Inspector General's office. Number one, they are correctly. I was arrested and taken to the Metropolitan Station, and it took them about 9 hours for them to take me to the hospital. I don't know what kind of system that is, but I was a part of it. I know that Waukesha Wilson, you guys need no further report, she died at hands of another, and that's the LAPD. I don't know what the Inspector General's office is doing about force of any of this. There's no more Andre Barak. Had we would have had Andre Barak here, we would have had some questions and answers. But as you guys know, most of the 5 white people that run the city, they all white, so we ain't going to get any questions or answers. They're going to come back and say, I know what happened. She dies at hands of another. That's why I want to charge everybody that was on that shift when she passed away, fire them, and then in 2 to 4 weeks, charge them with 187s. The same thing they would do with anybody else, a gang or anything else. There's no difference. Like they said, there's more cops going to jail than anything. But until we get a real inspector general in here that really knows what he's doing and that don't want to keep things caught up in bureaucracy, pay this lady $3.5 million, get it over with, save the tax people some money, and also we need a new police commission. Anytime that you violate the freedom of speech or get at somebody for raising their hand, something wrong with you, overall. And you don't want to pick a fight with me. You do not want to pick a fight with me because I will embarrass your ass. I know everything that Dean Pragerson said in the court because I was there. Steve Rhodey is my attorney, and I was there when he said when they got you guys and charged you guys
Okay,
with...
Mr. Hunt, on sound topic.
Who said that?
That's me, right over here.
Okay, yeah, but the city attorney I am. This is the Brown Act. Yeah.
No.
That was just kind of an interruption.
Next speaker, please.
That Dean Pragerson knows.
Speaker.
And he's violating the Brown Act. And you just did too, attorney.
Ted Hayes, please.
Mr. Hayes?
Mr. Inspector General, Alex Padilla requested $614,000 to print the voters' information in color, meaning red and blue is added to it. The use of force publication had 3 full-color photographs of bullet holes in the windshield of a police car. One was a full page, one was a quarter page, and the other was a quarter page. How much should it cost to print those things of bullet holes in a police car windshield? Now, the assumption is that the cops are being shot at, or else the cops shot through the windshield at a suspect using force against a suspect. So, I said it was a full-color pamphlet, but it wasn't. All the graphs were in blue, shades of blue. You could do that if you make the lines checkered, dotted, whatever. You could do that with all blue. If you significantly identified and make the lines distinctive. So I would like to get a report on how much that document cost. How much it cost for a full-page photograph of a police car with bullet holes in the windshield. Because I think that was a contrivance to negate the notion of police officers, the department, using force. The force comes at us, gunshots, through the windshield. So that's simply not a sensitive way in which to make a document where you want to speak about the department's activities when it comes to force. Let it be clear, there's only the force that this department executes, not the force used against them. We know there's a dangerous job. We know that. I had a dangerous job in the military. Did not get any compensation economically equal to the police.
Is that the final speaker on 4A?
Yes, sir. That's the final speaker.
Motion for approval? Okay, it was just a updated discussion. Okay, so we go to 4B.
4B, we have 2 comment cards. We have Wayne Spindler and Mr. Herman. Neither one is present.
Okay.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
We're now on 4C. We have 3 comment cards. We have Wayne Spindler, Mr. Herman, and Ted Hayes.
Mr. Hayes? This is item 4C, sir. Relative to recommendation for community safety.
I'm curious. It's a department report dated May 24th, 2016. At the bottom of the agenda, today is May 24th, 2016. Huh? In other words, this was put out the same day the agenda was published. Huh? Anyway, the real concern is about the language about the citation, the commission unit citation of individuals involved in community safety partnership, blah, blah, blah. But then it goes on to say for outstanding service, not to the community, but to the city. The city and the community are 2 different entities. Take my word for it. The city is the government. Okay? It's not the sidewalks, freeway, or the water pipes. It's the government. That's the city of L.A. So when people sue the city, they're suing the government. But when someone has an outstanding service, is it going to be to the community that they're serving or to the government that they're serving? And I want to know, how could this be dated May 24, 2016, and appear on the agenda on May 24, 2016? That's a quandary. But either that's sloppy paperwork and a typo, or somebody's playing games. But the language about what the accommodation is for should be community and not city. Community is what the police serve, not the city. The city is not what the police serve. The police serve the community. The people are in communities. The city is over there on Spring Street, City Hall, Board of Supervisors, stuff like that. So be clear about what this accommodation is about and keep the terminology consistent. Community, community, community.
Okay, we have no other comment cards on this item, sir.
Move approval of the item. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
We're now on item 4E. We have two comment cards. We have Prentice Jenkins and Ted Hayes.
Or B.
Or E.
4E.
4E. Sorry. Relative to the reprogramming of funds for the 2014 DNA Capacity Enhancement and Backlog Reduction Program grant as set forth. DNA is very important because DNA can clear up a lot of crimes. Red Chief Hunt once said that he suggested that Chief Beck DNA test all police officers. Yep. Yeah, all cops. I'd suggest he DNA test all firemen, too. See that guy right there? That crazy fool tried to kidnap a woman. He's going to take her to his lair. This is a L.A. fireman. Tried to kidnap her, take her to his lair and rape her. God knows how many women he actually raped. They just caught him doing that one. They just caught this guy doing that one, okay? And DNA would have helped this guy eventually. They gave him a $60,000 bail, and he got out of jail. Didn't show up for his trial. Bounty hunters came to get him. He shot at them. Then the crazy fool put the gun to his head and shot his head off. Well, I know all the women in the neighborhood are saying good riddance. That's your fireman hero. That's who y'all think are heroes. Y'all don't know what they do on their off time. They may be heroes when they're fighting fires, but you have no idea what these crazy fools do. I do. I research these psychos. That's why I keep stuff like this. That man said DNA test all cops. You DNA tested Stephanie Lazarus, LAPD officer Stephanie Lazarus. She murdered Sherry Rasmussen 23 years ago. And for 23 years, she was on the police department, and all the cops whispered, "You think she did it? You think she did it?" Sherry Rasmussen's parents kept coming into the police department saying, "This woman murdered our daughter, and she's a cop. No one did anything." But when they DNA tested her, they found a cop killer. That man was right. DNA test all the cops and the firemen. You'll clear up a lot of crimes.
Ted Hayes.
As I mentioned before, I was arrested for simply not coming back into the auditorium as ordered. I was taken to jail, and an officer took my DNA against my will. The scar is still here. He tore my skin, and plucked out my DNA from my body. I mean, that's a real harsh way to collect DNA, but that's what he did. So I wiped the blood away twice. The nurse put some antiseptic on the wound and bandaged the wound. But only felony suspects with certain kind of felonies have their DNA tested, and that's done with a cotton swab in the cheeks of the jaw. But this cop, while he's putting on my plastic identification band, sliced my wrist and took my DNA. So I complained about that to the watch commander at the jail. Nothing's been done. I don't know what might be done. But I want this commission to follow up on that particular incident, because it's really violent when you cut into a human being's body and take some portion of their skin and their blood and their flesh to take something. For what purpose? I have no idea what it's going to do with my DNA. Now, maybe it's going to be planted somewhere. Maybe you'll find my DNA at some crime scene. And that's positive ID, is it not? So I want to know why that cop sliced into my body and took my DNA. Now, I winced, but I didn't yell. Never let him know let him know you're in pain. So I'm asking this commission and the chief and the inspector general to follow up on that particular incident. The one with video 2 weeks ago when it was more apparent than it is now. But I need to get some information on that, because definitely I have been offended.
Thank you. We have no other cards on this item.
Move approval of the item.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We're now on 4F. We have 3 common cards. We have Wayne Spindler, Mr. Herman, and the Red Chief.
So Chief is the only one here?
Yes.
He's not here.
I think this is regarding DNA enhancement of the National Institute of Justice for DNA. I think he said it right. At this time and age, everybody needs to be DNA tested, especially in the department. If the National Institute of Justice is going to come in and do it, let's get it done. People dying in the hands of another, that would stop a lot of crime. The DNA capacity enhancement backlog reduction program as set forth, we need to bring that up to power. We need to call for all 10,000 officers to be DNA tested at this point, and we need to bring that program up to power. So actually we need to ask for a federal grant for that in the impact of like maybe $3.5 million, and so that we can also DNA test the LAPD. You guys, that would stop a lot of crime, and that would stop a lot of bullshit over at LAPD. And with that said, set forth the $3.5 million in the federal grant. If you guys need me to write it, I will. The bullshit is just about over, and you commissioners need to piss or get off the pot.
Thank you
We
for your
have no other
comments.
common cards on that item.
Move approval.
Item F.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. And 4G, we have no common cards.
On 4G and 4H, we would like to have presentations.
We'll begin with 4G, Department's report dated May 19, 2016, relative to the Vice Command Accountability Performance Audit, AD number 15-039.
Yeah, before you begin, I'll give you the question first. And in both of these, there are a lot of details into what happened, but there were no recommendations in how they're not going to continue to happen.
Commissioner, my name is Detective Say, Audit Division. The reason we don't have recommendations in our audit is because most of the policies that are in place are sufficient to do what needs to be done. So Audit Division wouldn't make any recommendation other than to follow policy and procedure.
Which would be a recommendation? Or you can't do that?
We can, but we generally steer away from that type of recommendation because...
You can see from our perspective here, it's
Yes,
an
sir.
audit, and then it says, and there's a reason behind each issue, but there's no corrective recommendation or acknowledgement that there will be correct, that it's not going to just come back the next time.
Commissioner, yeah, that usually takes place in the response from the department. But again, as far as the audit's concerned, we don't. There isn't any policy that needs fixing or improving. So the audit process is such that we don't make recommendations on changing policy or procedure or anything like that.
And how are they going to respond if there's no recommendations?
Well, again, the recommendation comes into place when we find a deficiency in policy, and that's from Audit Division. So we didn't find any deficiencies.
Sure, go ahead.
Yes, good morning. Jeffrey Phillips, Acting Commanding Officer over at Audit Division. As Detective Seha mentioned, when we come up with any recommendations, it's because we see a gap in an internal control in a policy or deficient in policy. With both audits that were conducted here, both of them, policy is sufficient. So it really just comes down to folks following policy. So therefore, we don't make any recommendations for just for folks to follow policy. I don't know if that helps any.
I have a quick.
Commissioner Saltzman, then.
I was just going to ask the Commander if he wanted to offer
Yes,
a department
thank you.
response.
Thank you, Commissioner.
To move us forward.
Commander John Peters from the Office of Operations. And just kind of as a precursor, I just want to let the board know that I'm joined today by all of the geographic bureau chiefs are here today to assist in a response if there's specific questions necessary. To highlight the significance of how the Office of Operations feels about some of the areas in this both of these audits where we did not meet the standard. We recognize that all aspects of the audit are important. We are encouraged by those that we believe to be most critical. We did very well in, as I'm sure that you saw and would acknowledge as it goes to the constitution of policing and the legality of the arrests and whatnot. Yep. So, but as stated, we believe that current policy is sufficient in terms of what needs to be done here. What we're seeing is a lot of these issues are attention to detail related issues that require greater scrutiny by supervisors and accountability up through the chain of command, and that's what our focus is moving forward. Specifically, all of the bureau chiefs have been asked to respond to the findings in this audit, which they have done. As you know, this goes back to 2014. And specifically as it goes to vice assignments, those are 2-year assignments. Those are limited tour assignments. So there's a constant training evolution that goes on in regarding new people, not only police officers that are working those assignments, but also the supervisors that run those units. And so we've ensured that that's going to continue to occur into a greater detail. We've met with Detective Support and Vice Division. Captain Kelly Moldorfer is also here today and understands the issues as well. And so I think the items of deficiency have been noted. Okay. And many of the bureaus have their own internal inspection teams that have already done spot audits on a lot of these areas and have noted great improvement. But again, they are here today to respond to any further questions that you might have.
Okay. Commissioner Sandra?
No, that was going to be my question. Okay. Once you do the audit, before it comes to us, you review with everyone?
Yes. Oh, yes, ma'am.
And they fix it or discuss it, and then it comes.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. And I've talked to the new director, Chief Moore, about these specific audits, and he is asking for the bureau commands to do another inspection specifically related to this audit, and to have that back in 4 months to give time to make the changes, to get a sample pool, and then provide that information.
That's what I didn't know, and I guess I'm just wrong that I thought that would have been explained in here, that was the follow-up.
Okay.
And that's all I was looking for was the follow-up. It looks like you've taken care of it.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Do you want to hear the report?
No.
Mr. President, if I may,
Yes, sir.
I am...
Vice President.
Yes, you are, Mr. Vice President. I apologize.
Veep.
I'll be meeting with Dr. Phillips, Mr. Olakan, and soon-to-be Commander Jeff Burt to talk about audits and the scheduling of those coming to the Commission, and also about having responses to the recommendations and/or what action has been taken by the audited entity going forward.
That was my thing.
I think it is important for the reports when they come to the Commission to have the full information that the area commands, what they have done or what they have not done, and for the Commission and for the public to see the full picture of it. So we'll be working on doing that going forward.
Okay.
Thank you.
Do we have any comments on 4G? We're on G now. On 4G?
We have no comment cards, sir.
Okay, we have a motion for approval.
Item 4G.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any comments on H?
Yes, we have comment cards on H, sir.
Okay.
We have two comment cards. We have the Red Chief and Prentice Jenkins.
Hey, thanks for coming, everybody. Two cards.
Red Chief and Prentice Jenkins.
Okay. Yeah. Should we have the report?
Yes, I would suggest you have the
Okay.
report first, sir.
Go ahead. I don't have any questions on the report other than what I had on the other report, which was were answered.
Same with me.
The accountability,
Okay, hold on for a second. Is there anything?
performance, and audit.
Hold on.
Excuse
hold on
me,
for a
Mr.
second.
Hunt.
We're giving the report.
We're going to give the report first,
Then
sir.
you get to comment. Okay. You don't have to go anywhere. Just you can stay there. Just be a second. Is there anything else you guys want to say based?
No, sir.
Okay. There you go, Mr. Chief.
Okay, man. On H, okay, audit performance go forth with the enhancement of narcotics and things like that. I think that what they're saying here is that there's no more that they can do, but there's always room for improvement in any audit or any performance. I think that you can enhance the department either with less or either with more. An audit means that you're going to audit it to grant that you guarantee the public good service in whatever you do, and that's as far as good policing, and that you're not going to break any laws when you arrest these cats. Like I said, there's always room for improvement, and I hope that the audit is done hands-on by going out really actually watching these guys perform what they do and just not writing some piece of paper and going like it's okay. You know, the best way is on-the-job training, OJT. That's the only way you can get a true audit if you go out there and check it out yourself. I know that from fact.
Narcotics is something that Americans love, and the pharmaceutical companies oblige us. The accountability, this is the Narcotics Enforcement Detail Command Accountability, Performance, and Audit. Are they auditing how many of the narcotics were checked in to property? If I say if we say we uncovered half a ton of narcotics, we uncovered a ton of narcotics, right? And only half a ton got in, would that be in the audit? Where'd the other half go? You know, yeah, thank you. Yeah. It's in the streets. Cops like narcotics. I know them crazy firemen do. Hey, them dudes. There's an epidemic of heroin addiction in the fire department. Their trucks running into cars. He had a medical emergency. Yeah, it's called crack cocaine. It's called heroin. That's called a medical emergency when a fireman does that. No, not one cop decided to give him a field sobriety test. Oh, he had a medical emergency. They cover it up. So when you're talking about the Enforcement Detail Command accountability for narcotics, Americans love narcotics, and they don't want you counting their narcotics, right? No one wants you counting their narcotics. We got them in our medicine cabinets. Oh, you got narcotics in your medicine cabinets. Probably even the chief's got narcotics. They're
Okay. Any other speakers?
No, sir.
We have a motion for approval.
Approval of the item.
All in favor? Aye.
We are now on item number 5, public comment period. We have 22 comment cards, sir.
Go ahead.
The first 5 speakers, Prentice Jenkins, Mr. Herman, Wayne Spindler, the Red Chief. I can't read the last name. It's Robert Creasa.
Oh, that's, wait a minute. Okay. Prentice Jenkins, City Life newsletter, publisher, activist since 1991. I just got this paper today, the Sentinel. It's the African-American paper, and it shows Jackie Lacey, her prosecutor duties, seeking justice when police use of force. Wow. Let's take a look at that, folks. A little civics lesson here. Okay, we're on page 7. Now, this is Jackie Lacey. We haven't seen her for a long time. She's like the groundhog. If she comes out and sees her shadow, it'll be 6 more months of winter. So remember that. Get your coats on. I haven't seen her in a long time, and she says, when allegations of excessive force are leveled against law enforcement officers, it causes me deep concern. I understand the public's anger over what they may perceive as injustice, as unjustified. Are we perceiving this? Is that perceived? That this is a perception that this woman actually died in custody? That's not a perception. That actually happened. Oh, something's happening over there. All right? Whoa, that was pretty good. Abracadabra, I never saw it. That's not Chief Beck. Oh, yeah, it's freaking underboss. Yeah, forget about it. Freaking gut. All right, so Chief Pasinger's here, huh? Wow, that was brilliant. I never even saw him move. Did he go past me?
He did.
Wow, you guys are good. Should take that act to Vegas. Wow, now, you believe that? Wow, that was brilliant. Okay, so Jackie Lacey hasn't filed charges against Wampler and Villegas for killing Ezell Ford. But she says it causes her deep concern.
Next speaker, please.
The Red Chief, followed by Robert.
God damn it, Chief Pasinger, you a smart motherfucker. Let me tell you why. You retired before this shit gets even deeper. Everybody fucking hate Eric Garcetti. Anytime you got to come sit next to your chief while you doing a press conference, hate motherfucking Eric Garcetti. You smart motherfucker. You go back with your other predecessor, because what's the name of you, McDonald? Retire from here and go get you another $200,000 or $300,000. That's what most motherfuckers do. Smart. Or run for city council or some shit where you can make a goddamn change. Anyways, I want to tell the city attorney, anytime that you interrupt a public meeting, that's a federal violation. As Dean Pragerson says, leave the speakers to his 2 minutes. Let him get his final thought in, because although you may not agree with it, it means something to them. And you haven't been in settlement conferences, so you wouldn't know. So you can just stop the 99.9 of that bullshit you guys got going over at the city attorney is bullshit. Your ordinance is bullshit. You guys is bullshit. Hey, we beat you guys 3 or 4 times, and you guys issue me checks every 2 motherfucking years. But it don't come back on the statistic reports. And this is why all of that shit is bullshit. And pacing, I got to give you credit. You getting out just in time, because crime's getting ready to go up, because Eric's trying to build more jails. And I'm saying fuck Eric Garcetti and fuck Chief Beck, because anytime you bring an insider in, bullshit start to happen. And just like the motherfuckers arrested me for selling soap, that don't make no goddamn sense after paying me $500,000. And if you guys don't listen to me right now, I'm calling for everybody on that shift to be fired over at Metropolitan. 2 to 4 weeks be charged with 187s. That's my current investigation. She died at hands of another.
Hello, everybody. My name is Robert Cristo, and I'm representing the LA Brown Berets, and I'm also a member of the Youth Justice Coalition. So first off, I want to say that the LA Brown Berets stand fully behind the Youth Justice Coalition in their plan to establish an LA City development for the youth development within the city budget. That means 5% from law enforcement, 5% that can lead to the building of 30 youth centers, 350 peace builders and intervention workers, 15,000 city-funded jobs for the youth. I'm also here to speak on a situation that happened in Boyle Heights about a couple of weeks ago when a, quote, gang member was killed. When I saw in the LA Times, I read it as almost like an OK Corral scene. The LAPD rode up on him, attempted to stop and frisk, he pulled a gun, and all of a sudden there was this glorious shootout between the Cowboys and the Mexican bandit. He was shot and killed. Then, upon doing some community research, I found out that the scenario wasn't like the LA Times purported. In reality, the LAPD suspected him of robbing somebody. Turns out the robbery claim was false, but the LAPD believed it so that when they saw him walking down the street, they opened up their doors and opened fire on him. I'm not going to say he didn't have a gun, but that gun that he had and that gun that he fired it in self-defense. Now think about this in the equation of, is this justified? Now you can make an argument. He was a gang member, he had a gun. It must be a real win, right, for the LAPD. But in reality, is instigating a shootout in a tightly compacted community space with homes with walls probably less than an inch thick, is that justice? Is firing bullets from guns that hold 18 rounds in the middle of the street at a skinny target, is that justice? Is another young man of color dead at any rate justice? I think about it. I go to schools and I talk to youth about their community, and I can just go off a list of people of color that they have killed. Right now, I'm standing behind Jose Mendez, who was 16 years old, who was shot and killed 15 times in the back at 16 years old. What chance does he have? What chance do you have at 16? What chance do the youth of the city of LA have in this city with police like y'all?
The next 5 speakers: Julian Pena Vargas, Kai Utsumi, Paula Miner, Oscar Nia Amina Miner. Julian Pena Vargas. Okay.
Hi, my name is Julian Canek Peña Vargas. I'm here working with the Calo Youth Leadership Development Program. First off, I just have to say that when we bring young people here to observe a democratic process, it really is sort of disappointing and sad to see a lack of meaningful and profound sort of debate about some of the most pressing issues that are facing our nation, our city, and our county. You know, we come here to see people really picking the issue apart and trying to find constructive solutions, but it seems like most of the comments that we've heard from the board have been to either tell people that they can't dialogue with us or just to call people up or down. But with that being said, you know, I just want to give a voice to some of the research that our young people have been doing. Earlier this semester, they chose to focus on the issue of jail construction in Los Angeles County. It's an issue that speaks to them personally. And some of our young people were doing surveys in the downtown area. And the survey question was, why do you think Los Angeles County is the biggest jailer in the world per capita? A group of students decided to interview a police officer and ask him that question. And the answer that they got was that there's a great deal of homelessness in downtown and that a lot of people come to downtown looking for services. At first, our young people were very baffled by the answer. They felt that he was not addressing the question directly. But when we started to analyze it further, we found that it was perhaps one of the most honest answers that we had received that day, basically highlighting the fact that people come to downtown looking for services, looking for mental health services, looking for housing, looking for food, and oftentimes the response is jail. I think that there's a comparison today with the issues that the Youth Justice Coalition brought up. Just like homeless people come to downtown looking for services and are often met with jail, our young people are in need of services, and the lack of those services oftentimes results in them being channeled into jails, into the juvenile halls. I think that if you guys really have a commitment to creating a safer community, you guys will get behind the LA for Youth campaign to share some of those needed resources with the community so that we can do that preventative work. I don't think that policing is a blanket answer for all of our problems, and I don't think the police department can provide those services. Those services need to be provided in our community. Thank you.
Kai Utsumi.
I've been a human rights activist for over 25 years, even before that. And this commission and this whole body here they allow criminal police, murdering police, to go on with impunity. This commission had a squad of police arrest Melina Abdullah for her few seconds over the allotted time of 1 minute of public comment. She was practicing democracy, unlike this group here. The abuse of power attempts to criminalize her and other Black Lives Matter activists. It just reveals what the police is. You're against the democratic process. I never hear these women people on the commission say one word Are they coerced into agreeing? I don't know. But because democracy is we the people. We are the people. We are the community. The police is not the community. We are the community. And we are against not only murdering police, but this whole commission, chief of police, for not even acknowledging our words. Now, I believe that my speech is going to have no effect on you. There's no media back here, you know. And
Next speaker, please.
what? Yeah,
Thank you,
and
sir.
I support the Youth Justice Coalition for what they want, but in my view, they should have a major role, if that is allowed, in policy making and
you, sir.
running the program. Because if the police gets their hand on it, it'd be more criminalizing the people of color.
Thank you.
I'm telling you guys, go into the
Can we
website,
have the next speaker, please?
splcenter.org.
Our
You
next speaker.
are part of the
next
white
speaker?
supremacists.
Our next
against
speaker,
people
Paula
of
Miner.
color.
Paula Miner.
Paula Miner, followed by Oscar and Nia Amina Miner.
First of all, I have some comments for Mr. Soboroff. I reviewed the article that was in the LA Sunday Times where there was a quote, and I'm kind of paraphrasing it from you, when they talked about disruptions or when they talked about people who come to the commission to bring up serious issues. Many people have many serious issues to bring up. But you, as one of the leaders of the commission, seem to think that's not important, that's taking up too much time, that you don't like the way people talk, you don't like the way people present their information or their requests. And to paraphrase a quote you made in that paper, you said, you know, we have business to conduct. As if the things that we bring before you are not business. As if you're separating the pain, the harm, the issues that occur in our community, that they are not this commission's business. And to me, that is so serious because you're a leader. You know, other than Matt Johnson and you, very few people on the commission do anything but stare at us or, you know, text, tell jokes, hold their heads down, don't look at the speakers. So I'm just saying, I'm really disappointed in you, Mr. Soboroff. Mrs. Hines had to leave because she had a doctor's appointment. As you know, she is still suffering. But one of the things she asked me to ask you as the acting president and Mr. Tiefing, if we can have a hard copy of the report that provided the notification procedures for when, you know, loved ones, next of kin, whatever, are notified of an in-custody death. So I want to know if I can get a copy of that so I can share that with her. I understand that some of those reports are online, but at this moment, she does not have access to online. So is that something you can answer?
I'll attempt to facilitate that for you.
Okay.
Probably not today, but I will have it for you.
Okay, if I give you my address, can you mail it to me soon? Because we need to get it soon. Okay.
Next speaker, Oscar.
Hi, I come to ask, who do we need to talk to get answers for Waukesha Wilson's family today? If you won't help us, please let us know who will. Because you're at the top as we see it, and nobody here has helped her in 58 days. It's been so long that I wouldn't trust any evidence if you did bring it up anymore. It's probably been tampered or gotten rid of, who knows? We together must make sure that this does not happen again. We must fire Chief Beck now. He's not even here for the public comments. Last time I was here, President Johnson left for the public comments. If you're not going to help us, then step down so we can put someone else in that seat who will stand up to him. Someone who cares about our people, someone who can actually answer our questions about police murders. For any of the police officers here, join us in standing up to these supposed leaders of your department. Their ignorance and dishonest work is putting a bad name on you and placing you as well as us in unnecessary danger and robbing our people of justice for their lost loved ones. So let us know what we have to do to get these answers. I don't know if you're going to keep locking these protesters up, and if we got to go to jail for that, let me know, and I'll change my schedule so I can be free on Tuesdays, and we'll do that. I'm not scared to go to jail. We're not ashamed to go to jail, and we've seen the guns. Like, I've been pulled over just like that young man was talking about, guns out, accused of robbery. So we're ready. We're ready to do it, whatever we have to do. If that involves things that if we have to come here every week, we'll be here every week. But let us know what we can do to actually change this, because you're not doing anything about these murders. Thanks.
Eight murders this year. Was that correct? 8 murders. 21 last. Outstanding bias reports with no action. In custody deaths. So since you're not allowed to have a dialogue with the community, then maybe we should set a community meeting in a public space at a better time, maybe with some more parking, yeah. And we can invite everybody to talk about the issues that concern our communities. Oh, wait, we did that. Yeah, we did that. Yeah, May 3rd. And you declined. The acting president, not you, but Matt Johnson declined. That's fear. Fellow community members, what we're witnessing is fear. Kathleen Ken, that was the sorriest excuse I've ever heard from an adult. Someone else told me I couldn't have a dialogue with you, therefore I'm telling you in dialogue that I can't talk to you. Instead, the president has declined our community meetings out of fear, disrespected community members and families that demand information like Lisa Hines' mother for Waukesha Wilson out of fear, stripped away First Amendment rights out of fear, arrested community members out of fear, wasted resources on a BS use of force report, and take your time implementing weak de-escalation recommendations out of fear. History will show that you have done nothing, that you are complacent in situations of oppression and murder, that you are corrupt, that you waste resources. The community will expose these lies and deceptions. The community is here. The future is here. This is who protects and serves me. These are the people I trust. Their moral compass stands strong. They don't resort to compromise, nor do they move with fear. Your reputation will be discredited. As you age out of these positions, these young people will stand up and tell the truth. Just remember that.
The next 5 speakers, Cheyenne Garcia, Alina Guerra, Lisa Hines, Maritza Galvez, and Josephine Lopez.
So I came today. It's my first time witnessing all of this. And at the beginning, everyone's giving their speech well prepared, and I thought, damn, I should have came up with something better. But as I'm listening to them, I look over and I see you guys, well, now I have your attention, but I see you guys on your computers texting or giving like zero attention to what they say. So although they bring up great facts, what good is it if it falls on deaf ears? And like you said, there's no dialogue, then what is this really for? Is it to keep us happy? Is it to keep us content with this? Like he said, we're going to come every week. And I want to come every week, even though this is my first time. But I feel like if I were to come every week, it would drive me crazy to the point where I would wear a Batman mask and come up here. Right? I mean, come on. Like, this is my first experience. And so I'm looking up over there to protect and serve, and I see you guys have it in quotations. And it only makes just enough sense because it's to protect and serve, right? Justice or just us, meaning you guys. Because ever since I was a kid, ever since I saw police, I already knew to fear them. Everyone grew up to fear the police. So who are you guys really protecting if anytime anyone's around, everyone's all panicked and nervous? And who are you guys really serving? That's all I have to say. No, that's not all I have to say. Actually, psych, plot twist. All right.
You're a funny guy.
My question is, really, I mean, the reason why we say fuck the police is because, I mean, The police, that badge is what separates you from us. At the end of the day, we're all humans. And if I can be, I have to be strong enough and smart enough to know that I don't hate you guys. I actually love you guys. And I want you guys to strip yourselves of that badge and that authority. And because we're all the same. And until we come on the same platform, we'll always be divided. And it'll always be fuck you.
So, just like Cheyenne, this is my first time here. I laugh because this whole time I'm sitting down, look at everybody come up. You guys don't look at them. To you guys, we're trash. We're shit. That's all we are to you guys. We can be people of color. Everybody in here, people of color. All I see up here is white people. That's all I see. It's been a white-dominated world since the longest and I can remember. Racism isn't gone. As clearly as you can see. Can you guys see it? All I see is white people up here. All white people. Serve to our communities. Respect for people. And quotations as well. How do you guys expect to get respect from us when you guys don't respect us? In order to get respect, you have to earn it. Whether you have a badge, whether you're white, doesn't matter. We're all the same person inside. I'm a youth. Do I have to get stopped by a cop every time I'm with the friends because we look gang affiliated or because we're people of color? I fucking hate the cops. Shotgun pointed to my head, all because I was walking with a friend. You guys want us to know our rights? You guys want us to know the amendments? But once we state them, we get in trouble and we get put in handcuffs. All I gotta say is fuck the police. Stop being fucking pigs and realize all the shit that's fucking going on. Stop sitting on your fucking ass and actually do something for someone that actually fucking needs it.
Next speaker.
Good morning. I'm Josephine Lopez, and I'm a student from Free LA High School. And I'm here to talk about the $180 million could benefit all low-income communities, which can give more jobs to the communities and more resources for them, like clinics, youth centers, youth jobs, and youth-built intervention works, etc. LAPD don't need more funds because they have more than half of the city budget already. Annually, Los Angeles Police Department receives $1.4 billion. So you guys don't need that. Okay. In my neighborhood, there's only 2 youth centers. We need more youth centers, not just for me, but for all the youth, because each and every one deserves a second chance, because we can do it. Si se puede. So I encourage you to redirect $180 million to the low-income communities and get all the resources we need. And thank you for listening and giving me your time, and have a nice day. And don't forget about my words. Have them in mind.
My name is Maritza Galvez. I'm here with the Youth Justice Coalition. YJC is here today to demand that the Police Commission for once protect and invest in young people. Black and brown youth are the overwhelming victims of both over-policing and an over-reliance on spending for law enforcement, with currently, like the young woman just said from Free LA, nearly 54% of the city budget going to LAPD. LAPD spends 70 times more on law enforcement. The city spends 70 times more on law enforcement than on youth development. This is unacceptable. And on top of that, we're hearing that Mayor Garcetti is proposing $180 million more. So we're outraged because our community doesn't get anything, yet here at 54%, the mayor is proposing more money into law enforcement, something that hasn't worked for years. Today we are here calling for the Police Commission to support the LA for Youth campaign, to support several bills that would ensure that young people get justice and young people are protected. We're asking for the Police Commission to endorse Senate Bill 1286 that will greatly increase transparency in police records, allowing for greater oversight and accountability of law enforcement. We're asking for the Police Commission to endorse Assembly Bill 2298 that will establish the right for people to be notified if they are added onto any shared database. We're asking the Police Commission to endorse Senate Bill 1052 that requires all youth who are under 18 to have a lawyer present when being interrogated. LA talks a lot about wanting to work with low-income communities, work with the community, work with young people, but we don't act on it. So here you have multiple organizations asking to support young people, asking to support the community. We're asking you to say her name, say Waukesha Wilson's name. We're asking you to do something.
Next 5 speakers, Eddie H., Mariela Saba, Eden Jacinto, and then I have a card that just says youth.
And is that the last?
No.
Okay.
Eddie H., Los Angeles Community Action Network, LA CAN. Before I preface my comments, I just want to say to the youth, the light is shining brightly through you guys. And I just want to encourage you, never give up, never stop coming. For if we do, they win. And this is a quote that can be attributed to me. You shall know the strength and the weaknesses of your adversary by the level of engagement. And what has been espoused upon so often by so many individuals today is the lack of engagement. And not just here at this commission, but the lack of engagement in other entities outside this commission. The lack of engagement by you, Mr. Bustamante, in your office. The chief ran out the side door again. That's 2 weeks in a row because he didn't want to engage in this public comment sector. That's a lack of engagement. I've heard people talk about Waukesha Wilson, but there's been other Waukesha Wilsons in the past. Charlie Africa, our dear brother from Skid Row, there's been a lack of engagement of why he was stopped, why he was eventually murdered. We talk about Ezell Ford. We still haven't gotten answers to why he was stopped. But even though the officers were found to be out of policy, your chief said that he was not going to discipline them. There's been a lack of engagement. So we know the weakness by which you guys do your job with. But you sit on the other side of that dais and think that you're operating from a point of strength. Strength means that I will engage you, that I'm not ashamed, I'm not afraid, that I'm not scared to engage you any place, anywhere, anyhow. So your lack of engagement shows us who really has the strength. And we're going to continue to manifest that strength week after week, my dear brother, month after month, and year after year. And I just want you guys to turn around, young people. He left. The officer was in the room that literally accosted me last week. And I just want to say he is a potential killer. For had that situation happened on the street,
Speaker,
I might
please.
be dead right now. With all the things that you guys say that he felt threatened,
Who's the next
that
speaker?
he thought I had a gun.
Saba.
Okay.
And I was looking the wrong way.
So
But
it's
here
out of your
again,
time?
to the youth, you are the future, and the future's right now. So continue to fight.
I wanted to address my comments to Kathleen Kim, but she stepped out when I stepped up. So I'm going to add, it's not a surprise. And I also want to address my comments to Sandra Figueroa. And last week you were not able to hold eye contact with me when I called you by your first name, Sandra. So I'm going to wait for your eye contact.
If you're not,
This is public.
I'll give you the time.
Yeah, back
Just
to
hold
two.
on. I'll give you extra time.
Hold on. No, don't do that in my face. No, don't do that.
Hold on, please. Okay. If you'd like to speak, fill out a card. Don't speak from your seats. We can't hear. Go ahead.
I have the mic, and I think I am very audible. And thank you for holding the time. And folks, feel free to be your human self and express your emotions in this space. No to white man telling us, people of color, don't be your human self. Express yourself. Wave your hands. Feel it. Whatever. This is our space. We have taken over this space over a year already. That's the truth, Los Angeles, and the whole world has been watching. We've taken over this space. So I want you to relay my message to Kathleen Kim, Sandra Figueroa. I'm right here waiting for your human connection, eye contact minimum from your position. This tells us exactly where they stand. I want to communicate that for Kathleen Kim, Sandra Figueroa, the brown folks on the black folks, Matt Johnson obviously is missing in action. Hopefully he's thinking deeply about his resignation, because that's the only answer that you all have. That's the only way out, is you resign. And it's going to be a victory for Los Angeles when we're able to show that Los Angeles Police Commission fails. That's Los Angeles. Los Angeles, a big city in the whole world. And this police commission that runs the city has failed. And we're going to let the city, the world, California, beyond know that LAPC fails. It even has a hashtag for that. You cannot play both sides. Sandra Figueroa, Kathleen Kim, she's a law professor. She sits on the board of ADGLA as well. She cannot play both sides. I know that you're going to hear this message, so I saw you nodding your head to a couple of our comments. Kathleen Kim, you have some humanity in you, but while you're on that side, you cannot play both sides.
Speaker, who's the next speaker?
All of you, all in favor of the police commission shutting down, say aye.
That's right. The next speaker, Eden Jacinto.
Ninguna pregunta. Estamos aquí en la lucha. Me llamo Eden, como el jardín, con raíces y fruta. Gusto en verte en la calle, en mi mente, gritando suerte. Si se puede, te quiero, nos vemos, vente. Esta información es para la gente en la calle, la razón. The people that prisons pass on, a la migra, mi familia, se están escondiendo, hiding and hiding, tago en tago, en cualquier lengua. Nuestros derechos defendiendo. Unificar. Right there with you, Neofa. Si llaman tu nombre o gritan alto, puedes contestar, tengo derechos. Habla fuerte, invito un testigo. Solo di tu primer nombre, amigo. No mientas o resistas físicamente, son pruebas de un crimen desafortunadamente. Porque la policía y la migra son el mismo sistema de porquería. Aunque tengamos miedo, tenemos sabiduría. Estamos transformando este sistema, respira con tus pies en la tierra. Estamos practicando, estamos listas. Defiende tu vida. Defiende tu vida. Because we know about 13th, Jim Crow, Black Codes. We know about CCA, PIC, GEO. We know about school to prison, hate for our people and our children. We know about resistance. Get together. Keep us living. We show about freedom, fighting for our people. I am you, you and me. Not talking profit, talking people. This is how we get free. I do notice how you've been listening. It might be possible that you care. I do feel how your fear is sickening. I can tell, I'm aware. I do know about our family stories. It took college, grandparents at time. I do notice how white supremacy confused us all, gave capital to your family and killed mine. I do care about our future, so stop threatening us with fear. We know how to read and write. We need to paint and dance and cheer.
Thank you.
There's more, and I'll get you later, okay? You take that in, okay?
Next
speaker. Take them in, okay?
Okay, the next
There's a lot more. We have more lawsuits. We have more poems.
Next speaker, please.
The next speaker.
Is who?
I have a card for you. It just says youth. Is that you? Okay.
Okay, come on up.
And following this speaker, we had Hamid Khan, Tiana Black, Ted Hayes, and Mellow Desire.
Yes, we do.
Go ahead.
Yes, we do.
Your time is starting now, please.
So I am youth, and I am representing youth. Me going to a school, Los Angeles inner city school, I see police at my school. And the only reason we have police at our school is because of Columbine. But they're not here to serve and protect us. They're here to check our bags, bring the dogs to our classroom, interrupt our learning time. It doesn't feel okay. It feels like a bug just bugging us. And it bothers me. It really does bother me seeing my police at our school, at all our schools, having the metal detectors there. It makes us feel like criminals, as though if we did something wrong. I'm trying to get my learning on, trying to get my degree, trying to get out of this area. And and then giving out tickets to those families who barely make enough ends meet. I mean, we have the most incarceration rates. I mean, obviously it's not working, so why keep doing it? Is it because you're trying to gentrification right here in downtown? I mean, you're sending people to prisons, you're giving them food, you're giving them a house, I mean, you're giving them a bed. Why don't you make it somewhere where it's freedom, where they can have freedom? You're giving them the stuff already, the basic needs. Why don't you make it out here, somewhere where they can be with their families instead of like 12 hours away? Yep, exactly, for profit, for the corporations, corporate America. So why do you keep incarcerating our black and brown people? Do you do your research on the psychological effects on a person being caged up 24 hours, 23 hours a day? I have a father who's serving life right now. He wishes that he could kill himself. The only reason he doesn't is because he has 2 daughters to live for. I mean, it breaks my heart to see him there. It breaks me down for me to hear him say that he'd rather kill himself than rather live right there in there forever. I mean, it brings me back to home. You know, I wish my dad was here, but I can't.
Thank you.
Hamid Khan.
And how many more speakers do we have?
We have 4 cards. We have Hamid Khan, Tiana Black, Ted Hayes, and Mello
Okay.
Desire.
Thank you.
Whoa. Thank you. Thank you all very much. I mean, this really speaks to our spirit and our hearts and our minds. The Sunday Times, LA Times front page cover it said, LA's uncivil wars. Uncivil wars. So let's figure out that what is the standard of civility in this medium, in this space. Standard of civility that is determined by killing the most people anywhere in the country. Standard of civility, when they put dash cameras in their patrol cars, they break off antennas so they can't be monitored. Standard of civility, that when someone goes off by 30 seconds over their time, they're either arrested, insulted, or talked down to. Standard of civility, when they say that we cannot speak to you because the city attorney doesn't allow us. Standard of civility, that when they get these letters from us, they never respond to us. Standards of civility, then we write a letter to each one of them individually to meet with us, they don't respond to us. Standard of civility, that they schedule a meeting with us, and at the last minute they bail out. We can go on and on and on with these standards of civility. Who is uncivil and who is not uncivil? Earlier I heard somebody say, all white people. That's what I meant, Kathleen Kim. That's what I meant. You may be Asian, Sandra Figueroa may be Latina, but you think white, you act white, you live white. Yeah. That's the disease that we suffer from. Yeah. That is a disease, that is the assumption of privilege of not being black. Because being black dehumanizes you. Being black or thinking about being black puts you in a space where then you're challenged to your core. That's what happens. That's the level of incivility we are talking about. That's a level. This is a symbol of incivility. The man sitting right next to you. This is what incivility is. So yes, these uncivil wars are on. They are absolutely on. We will disrupt and
Next
we will
speaker,
be here
please.
all the time. Yeah.
Tiana Black.
Peace and blessings, everybody. How y'all doing this morning? Y'all good? I see we're missing our uncle here, Uncle Tom, Matt Johnson. He's not here. I see that he met with Ward AME Church on May 15th, and they put a nice little picture online, and I read the article, and he proposed all of this change that he's doing and working with the community, but he's not meeting with the community. People that come every week, week after week, saying, hey, this is what we propose, these are the budgets that we've lined out, and he has not met with us. He goes to a black church to get their support, and I don't know if anybody a part of Ward AME Church up in here? Oh, That's ironic. But yeah, so I just want to propose that the leaders on this panel, and we're all leaders in this room. Everybody is called to be a leader. God said every person is born a leader. But unfortunately, the leaders that are set before us, what's her name, Sandra? She can't even look. Can your neck even turn this way? Because we see you. I know you feel like you're transparent because you're staring straight ahead, but we see you. And guess who else sees you? God sees you. So when you're at home at night and you're thinking you've basically gotten over on us because you haven't made eye contact, God is the last judge. He's above every one of you guys. And when you're in your bed at night and you're thinking like, you know what? I'm just going to go and collect my check and just do what the white man tell me to do. God sees all. And I am pleading you guys to lead like Jesus. Because you know what? His core value out of everything was love. So I got to ask you guys, where's the love? Do you have love for us? Like, really, do you? As a human to human, do you have love for us?
Next
Ask yourself
speaker,
that question.
Ted Hayes. Mr. Hayes?
Is Mr. Hayes the last speaker?
Yes. And we have one more. We have Mellow Desire.
Okay.
By law, only government can be prohibited from censorship. Now, if you take it upon yourself to demand that you have to be qualified to speak, that's interesting. A person has to be coherent, they have to be intelligent, they have to be understandable, they have to be all those things to speak before you. And unless they qualify like that, you have the right to censor them and tell them to shut up, sit down, or you're not on topic. Now, what qualifies anyone on this panel to determine what the topic is? Some of you are lawyers. I guess you took some debating classes and things like that. But I don't think that you as government can determine whether or not 2 lousy minutes is something you should interfere with and censor because you consider they're not on topic. So the Brown Act doesn't require us to do anything except be able to comment on any item of interest. That's it. That's the limits placed upon the public when it comes to speaking. Fill out the card, indicate what you wish to talk about, the way you do it. Now, I believe the Brown Act recognized the population of the community has all kinds of people on it. Like one of our speakers said, some people should not say things just because they shouldn't, but they can. Nevertheless, they shouldn't say it. You have people who are dislocated mentally who might wish to speak to you for 2 minutes. That should be accommodated. That should be accommodated. So I think that when your city attorney is not recognized by the chair, but he blurts out, I got to go talk to his boss about that. I think that's totally inappropriate for any one of you not to seek recognition from the chair to do any, particularly the city attorney.
Thank you, Mr. Hayes.
We have one more comment card. We have Mellow Desire.
Hi. My name is Mellow Desire. I'm actually a filmmaker for Inner City Youth, and I specifically came to LA to do film with foster youth, homeless youths, just basically our youths in general, who don't have a chance in becoming anything but jailbait, death, incarceration. It's money. So we're not going to waste time saying this is what we need from you guys. You have bosses, and your bosses have bosses. So what I'm saying is that we're going to have a revolution of performing arts initiatives, getting these kids off the streets, these big-ass empty buildings that you have all over L.A. that's not being used for years. Want to utilize Hollywood to give 1% of their income, resources, time, and sources, as well as the police commission, to give 1% of your resources, time, and income, just 1%. YJC, 5%. We understand that may be a whole lot, but 1% to start off with, into building these studios to get them off the street so you don't have to pay officers to manhandle them and possibly kill them. These kids are creative geniuses, but if you keep giving them a football, if you keep giving them basketball in urban cities and taking away supermarkets and taking away education, a lot of these schools, like Locke High School, doesn't even have new books for their kids, but Beverly Hills and Hollywood, Alhambra, and all these outskirts, they have funding for education. So if you're not going to educate our kids, do not put more money in arresting them. Give them a chance at performing arts. The one thing that's in common with all of us is music. We all have something that we love to hear to get away and escape from this world. So if we can have a building to produce audio engineers, set designers, cinematographers, rather than just actors, singers, dancers, this is a production. This is business that will bring in revenue, that will make business people instead of jailbait. It makes everybody happy. It's a win-win situation. So Soboroff, how about that?
Thank you.
We have no other public comment cards. We're now in closed session. We have 2 cards for item number 6A1. We have Prentice Jenkins and Ted Hayes.
And how about 2?
We have none on 2, sir.
Okay. This is it.
Prentice Jenkins, published the City Life newsletter, activist since 1991. This young lady, Waukesha Wilson. And can I get the Youth Justice Coalition to hold up for a second? When they said that they can't respond to you, we asked them to respond to us, and it says in the Brown Act 549543, members of the legislative body of staff may briefly respond to statements made or questions posed by persons exercising their public testimony rights. So whoever told Ms. Kim that she couldn't respond was out of policy. Because she can respond. Thank you. I'll be here all week. Very clever, huh? That's what the Brown Act's for. So when we're dealing with individuals like Waukesha Wilson here, who died in custody, apparently B. Maurer died in custody too. And last week, H. Medina died in custody. So apparently custody is not a place that you want to be. Because apparently people are dying in custody. That's 3 people in 3 weeks. That's 2 people in 2 weeks have died in custody. Well, were they beaten by other inmates? Were they beaten by the jailers? How did these people die? We need to have answers as to how these people died. We need to have answers as to how Waukesha Wilson died. Her mother needs that answer. Her mother is not here, but guess who's here still speaking for her? I'm here still speaking for Waukesha Wilson. I'm here speaking for Ezell Ford. I'm here speaking for Charlie Africa. I'm here speaking for Angie Guzman. I'm here speaking for B. Maurer, who died in custody. I'm here. Hey, they cut my mic off. Hey, what happened? Huh? No, it's still counting down.
Oh, it is?
No, I got 10 seconds. My mic wasn't on.
6
Give me 10 seconds.
Take 12 seconds.
Oh, great. 12 seconds, good. Okay. Well, I'd like to, in 12 seconds, I'd like to talk about what a great person I am, what a great orator I am. I'd like to talk about myself. Enough about me. What do you think about me?
Your time's up. You're clearly off.
Ted Hayes.
Government of cities. The chief of police has the powers conferred upon the sheriffs by general law and all respects entitled to the same protections. That's the chief of police. No distinction as far as the police chief and the sheriff. When a prisoner dies or becomes insane, the sheriff, meaning the chief of police, also shall make diligent effort to communicate the fact to his friends or relatives of the prisoner. But logically, it means by law, the chief of police and the sheriff should have set up a means in which to accomplish this notification. They never asked me who my next of kin was when I was arrested. Now, I've gone to the hospital every time I get arrested, and I might have died you can see that never happened. So what's going on when the chief of police takes 4 days and claims that, oh, it's for the coroner to determine who the next of kin is and makes the notification? The law says something different. It says that responsibility is conferred upon the chief and the apparatus, the technology, the paperwork, and the investigation, and the information collected from the inmate should be designed to see that that can occur. So, also, I pointed out that those telephone cords can't hang a person. A person can't be hung by a telephone cord because they're too short. I've seen them. I've tried to utilize the phone. It's hard to use the phone. Anyway, it's a very suspicious suicide, and it should not be one that lingers for 4 days before notification takes place.
Thank you, Mr. Hayes.
We have no other comment cards, sir. The Board of Police Commissioners will now recess into closed session to discuss item number 6A1 and 2 in accordance with Government Code 54957.
Obviously, we don't want to say anything because I don't think they've figured it out yet. Because once they do, they'll promote that same guy.
Right, right. I don't know who it is that they were.
Oh, it's the guy that he's
The mics are on.
Okay.
The Board of Police Commissioners has concluded its work in closed session. We are back in open session. In closed session, item number 6A1 was discussed and the Chief's recommendations were unanimously adopted. In closed session, item number 6A2 was discussed and the Chief's recommendations were unanimously adopted. Mr. Vice President, is there a motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor?
Adjourn.
Excellent. Cut, print, we're moving on. Hi, I'm Shane Woodson on the set of Cain and Abel here in Hollywood. You're watching LA City View, Channel 35. Our city, our channel. Okay, I need my actors back on set, back in position.
Every day-to-day, the Donald C. Tillman Reclamation Plant reclaims water, which is an essential element of life. This water provides life to some of the best